etc. See, you are in 83rd batch, and anyway, that's all good. And this is the introduction. So you know, and from the brochure you have come to know that we have these four set papers in the semester 1 and four papers in semester 2. And in the semester 3, we have two papers. One paper is compulsory and one paper is optional, where we have got one option, one paper to be taken out of the four options. Currently, out of the four options, what we are doing is we are offering two options, right? Going forward, if there is a change, we'll see. Then we also have internship or live project. In fact, just about a week ago, from the 79th batch, we had as many as 45 people who had passed the internship or the live project, right? So that's how the things happen, right? Now, there are these courses. You have seen it, you have got it. Now I'll connect these courses to the entire, this issue of training process. So yeah, these are the third semester papers. The compulsory paper has learning or training analytics, and the optional papers are these. Right now, out of these four, what we are offering is OD and change management and talent management. These two we are offering, right? Others are in the pipeline, but I have no, we cannot announce anything on that, right? Now, let's look at the training process. I would define the training process in five steps. The first step is identifying learning needs. The second is planning and designing the learning task, which is both at macro and micro level. And then we have what is called developing a training module or system, right? And then we actually have this organizing and conducting different components of training. The fifth one is assessing the outcomes and taking remedial measures to achieve the targeted outcomes. In fact, this is very similar to, but slightly different language, to what is called the ADDIE model. And many of you would be aware of this ADDIE model. This ADDIE model is quite popular in America, right? And so what does it really say is you go anti-clockwise. You start with analysis, which is essentially the training need analysis or so, or the problem analysis. And then we come to what's called the design part of it. And then we come to what is called the development of the module, development of the training. Implementation essentially means delivering the training. And evaluation, of course, is to assess whether the program was successful or not successful. Has it made an impact or has it not made an impact? Yeah, has it? Yeah, I would request people to, unless they are speaking to us, to keep their this thing on mute. Yeah, kindly keep it on mute, and whenever you need to talk, you can always raise your hand, and then I would ask you to unmute yourself and do that, right? Okay, so we have this 5 steps which I earlier shared with you, is very similar to the 5 steps which are given in the ADDIE model, right? Now we look at how this is connected to our program structure. Our program structure, the identifying learning needs and planning and designing the learning task both at macro and micro level. This is in fact being handled in the paper 2, which is instructional design. So this is what I'm handling. So these are the things that I would be teaching you, right? Then we have what is called developing a training module or a system. When you develop a training module or system, what you require is you require a good understanding of what is called the training methods. Here we have 2 types of training methods that we will really be looking at. One, the traditional type, which are more cognitive, etc. And then there is training methods which are experiential learning and experiential training methods. So for these methodologies, we have actually got two papers. One paper is paper 3, the other paper is paper 4, which is experiential learning. So your understanding of training methods is important before you can begin to sort of develop a training module. All right. So going forward, we come to the organizing and conducting different components of the training. So this is the implementation part, right? And in the implementation part, in order to develop your skills and capabilities of, do this work well, we have got two papers. One paper is, of course, the presentation skills. You need to be good as a presenter, but as you become advanced, you need what is called the facilitation skills. So there are two papers on that. These two papers, paper 5 and 6, are actually dealt with in semester 2. So you can see that this is in fact an overview of semester 1, 2, 3 all, right? Then we have what is called assessing the outcomes and taking remedial measures to achieve the targeted outcomes. This is in fact handled in this, which is called paper 7, which is training, measurement and evaluation, right? So far so good, but you are seeing that paper 1 is missing, paper 8 is missing, and paper 9 and 10 are missing. So I would now like to tell you about this. The paper 1, business strategy and HRD, is an overall sort of integrative sort of say topic, where what you are trying to do is you are seeing that our training activity is aligned with the business strategy. Because it should not happen that business strategy is going in one direction and the training strategy is not bothered about the business strategy. Now, how do you really contribute to improving the organization's performance, organization performance, individuals performance, group performances and all that. So the whole issue, where we actually define and design training strategy. For that, you need to first of all understand what is business strategy, what is the cooperative strategy. In fact, the distinction will also be made between business strategy and the cooperative strategy. And though the title is business strategy and HRD, the main focus here is the final outcome of this is that you should have an ability to design your training strategy. Right. Of course, training strategy is not to be only decided by the learning and development manager. It has to be decided by the top management and their contribution. But the L&D manager will have to be the key point in the whole process. Right. So your ability to propose and design a good draft of training strategy and then connect all the points, connect it to the business strategy, that is going to be taught in the paper 1. Right. So in the paper 8, we are talking about managing the entire training process. This is typically for an L&D manager to really see or in GM HRD to see that the entire training process is being managed very well. Right. So the whole point of view of even the budgets, etc., how they have to be made. You also have to see that a training center has to be managed, infrastructure has to be created. How do you create the infrastructure? What amount of infrastructure you have for what type of task that you have in front of you? Those are the issues which get connected or get addressed in the paper 8, which is the managing the training process. Now we come to the paper 9 and 10. Paper 9 is about learning and training analytics. And in fact, what we have is this data analytics is becoming a very important part. We have, what can we learn from this? How can we use this large amount of data we can collect, and how do we process it? What sort of question we ask, and how does it affect our decision making? How does it affect in terms of our choice of courses we offer? How does it affect other things, other decisions in terms of, how effective the courses are, the modules are, etc. Right? All this is actually done in the paper 9th, right? That's a compulsory paper. The paper 10, where we have the elective paper, we have this OD and change management, then we have talent management, development center management, research methodology. At the moment, we are offering OD and change management and talent management. These two are the ones which are being offered. And in due course, development center and research methodology may also be offered. So by the time you people go to the, third semester, I'm not sure if we will be able to offer all the four, or if this could also increase, the range can increase further, right? So that's the type of course structure that we have here, is connected to the entire training process, right? Okay, so yeah, Mahashweta, you have raised hand. Please go ahead. Tell me. Yeah.
So in the fourth, in the last paper, paper 10, we would, we have to choose between 1 and 2. So is there a way that we can learn both, or take both the specialization and study, like both OD and change management and talent management both together, or is it that we have to make a choice between these two? By any means, if we can choose both of them, it'll be really nice for someone like me who's like a fresher, and
Okay.
it'll give me a good exposure in both
Okay.
the spheres.
ठीक है, ठीक है. उसमें ऐसा है, I'll tell you. Going forward, I would try to keep these two separately, in the sense that there will be a separate slot for the OD and change management, there will be a separate slot for talent management. What you will need to do is, you will have to choose to appear in the examination of one in order to complete the requirement of the diploma. But learning wise, if you want to attend the other one also, no problem. There will be no issue on that. Okay,
Thank you,
right?
sir. Okay, right.
Right. In fact, we do say this in the management institute, that this is an audit course. Audit course means I just went and attended. I did not appear in the examination or so. Right? Okay. So that's the way we will do it. Yeah. Gurpreet Kaur. Yeah. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, sir. Actually, so we have been provided with two books, right? As I have also attended the Bangalore chapter and Mumbai chapter, the topics that has been covered is not there in the book. So, do we have to refer some other books, or is it that these two books are more than enough for us to, read and clear the papers?
Uh, you are in a diploma program, right?
Yes.
In fact, it's a postgraduate program. Books are only a one component which you have to sort of read. There is nothing like a like you have NCRT books, or usme there is a syllabus, and there has to be something like a syllabus se bahar nahi aana chahiye. All that, please understand. You are developing yourself as a professional, right? Many of you are already very good professionals. So the books don't cover everything. Books cover a few things, and there will be a lot more references, etc., which will be given to you, which will be beyond the books, right? And so books are not adequate, not enough to cover everything, not at all, right? I would say books tend to cover only about 30 to 40% of what we are really going to be teaching. So don't restrict yourself to the books. Books, read and everything which is given in the books, but then that's not enough. if you were on a campus, you would actually be having access to a library and you can read much more. Nowadays also we'll keep giving you links, references, etc., and you can read a lot more. And you should read a lot more, right? Don't restrict yourself to the books. Yeah,
So,
Mahashweta, yes. Mahashweta, go ahead. Your
uh,
question.
no, sir, I've already asked one. Thank you.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
acha. When your question is over, then lower the hand, right?
Right, sir.
Ranjan?
Right, sir.
Yeah,
Excuse me,
Ranjan.
sir.
Sir,
I,
request you to go to the previous slide, please, sir.
Okay, fine.
I have a query regarding as you have just said about the library. I mean, suppose if we would have been attending the classes in a campus, of course, library. But
Yeah.
do you have any facility where, we can use online books, ebooks, um, uh, a library where we, all students can actually access to those online libraries, and, you can actually read books from there? Any option of that sort?
Yeah, see, Dr. Joshi has been trying to figure out if we can get this sort of, access to certain websites and all that in a collective manner so that they are available to this. At this point of time, there is none, but as he is exploring, there might be, there may be an announcement that you have got access to this and that. Now,
Great. Thank you,
I
sir.
would tell you the areas or the things where we have good access and good this thing is one is Wharton College. That they have got good this thing, and that is freely available, right? Wharton College is in the University of Pennsylvania, and many of their articles are on HR issues, training issues, development issues. They will be there. There will be some links that I am going to provide you for the McKinsey, right? That is available. Harvard Business Review or Harvard Business School does provide you 3 articles in a month, free. So you can also link or get connected with there and try to download that. And of course, sometimes when you are downloading and you find that your limit of 3 is over, maybe another colleague of yours or another student is able to download something else, and then you can share amongst yourself, right? So we'll have to work out these things. There is always a important issue is so you have to focus on good quality material, because there is so much material which is available on the Google, right, on the website, well, on the internet. But
Good afternoon, sir.
all of that is not great, right? Yeah. So we'll keep guiding you and we'll keep working on that. Yes. Yeah. Some more. Yeah.
Yes, sir, Soumya here. Actually, with the HBR, Harvard Business Review, we can download 5 articles per month for free.
Per month. Okay, good.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I thought maybe my connection or my registration was such that it was only allowing me 3 articles, but that's good. Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And there was a question on about this previous slide. Is there any question? Yeah, Sachin, you're raising hand. Go ahead. Tell me.
Yes, sir. As you said that the team is already working on exploring the possibility of an online library, as you responded to one of the question.
Yeah.
While there are people like me who are in Delhi NCR, so is it possible for us, if required, can we visit the Delhi chapter office and can take reference from the library, which is the physical library which is there?
In the national headquarters, what you have is a library which is with the headquarters, not with the Delhi chapter, but it is at the same premises and all that. So what you can do is you can check out once in a while, come over there. In fact, you will find a few books there. It's not very well stocked because recently we have not added many things, but it does have, previous batches, their internship projects, etc., and a lot of such material is all there. So you can make a visit and see if it is helpful to you, right? Okay.
Sure,
Check out
sir,
with
sure.
Raghu Raman.
Sure.
uh,
Thank you.
and see that librarian is there on that day, and the institute or the ISTD is functioning on that day. क्योंकि होता क्या है कि we keep working on sometimes on Saturdays and Sunday, and then one of the days, weekdays is announced as a holiday, right? So do check out before you visit, right? Okay.
Sure. Sure, sir.
Right. Okay. So that was this thing. Okay. And we had this Eddie. इससे भी पहले मैंने दिखाया था. I had said these 5 parts, right? Which is very similar to Eddie, but we have a different sort of nomenclature, and there are reasons why there is a different nomenclature, right? So going forward, yeah, having explained this, now I would also like to be very clear to all of you that while everything like this is provided to you, what is missing in this program is a practical sort of, like how do you deliver a training program? That is not there. Why? Because it's a distance learning program. And in fact, what we have is to improve and to see that how good you are as a training delivery person, means the direct trainer. We offer programs which are called Train the Trainer program, which is typically of 5 days or 6 days duration, where you actually come for that 6 days full time, and then you are given practical training on how to deliver a training session, right? And then you are also assessed on that. And in fact, a certificate is provided to you in terms of successful completion of your training as Train the Trainer program. So there is a TTT. Yeah. There's also, we are offering and started from last year, an internationally certified trainer program. This is also a 5-day or a 6-day program. It depends on, which place we are really doing the program, and then depending on how the scheduling is done, it is either kept as 5-day or a 6-day program. It's also a full-time program, and it is done jointly with NOCN of UK. Advantage of this program is because it is a certificate from NOCN of UK also, its recognition would be available in large part of the world. So if you want to look for sort of, if you are bidding for a training assignment in a foreign country, they typically ask, so what is the certificate you have that you are a trainer, you are a good trainer? And when you give this, that will be it. So these two are the ones where we actually give you that training delivery skills, right? And we also give you a certificate for that, right? These are priced separately. So there are at different points of time, you will can check out what are the costs for that and when are these being offered, right? But it will be always good to have these after you finish this diploma, or sometime, of course, at least you finish 1 or 2 semesters of this, then you can attend this again, depending on your convenience or so. Yeah. Okay. Some people have raised hands. Please go ahead. Yeah. Anyone who would like to ask a question at this point of time? Sachin, you had raised hand earlier. Is there any question, anything that you would like to ask, or you can lower? Right.
Sir, sorry,
Okay.
I forgot to lower my hand. Yeah.
वो देख लिया करो. Right. Okay. Now, these are the links. Right. My phone number, my email ID, Arun's phone number, Arun's email ID, which is the Delhi chapter ID, R. Raghuraman's phone number, which you have, and the ID on which he would respond, or his team will respond. In fact, Meenakshi and Sarita are also there. So who, and depending on their convenience, they sort of, tackle the issues. See, all the administrative issues which are related to fees, registration, etc. This is what you have to do. You have to ask Raghuraman and his team, right? So that's that's the headquarter team. Arun will coordinate for these, classes, anything from Delhi chapter side that we can really support you in your learning, right? Okay. Yeah, and I of course will be, in fact, about the content, etc. All that I will be really available, and I will be conducting this session also. Yeah, Sakshi, go ahead, please. Yeah.
So just one question was there.
Yeah.
So to fulfill the criteria of attendance that you have, so are we supposed to attend all the classes of all the chapters, or the chapter that we are associated with only?
As I understand, and I'm using the word as I understand, you have to attend 70% of the classes.
Okay.
Now, obviously, if you have a choice, you have to attend 70% of the class of each course. Now, which class you are attending, where you are attending,
That's not an issue.
that I think we should be flexible, right?
Okay.
This was, sir, sorry, I'm interrupting you. This was the reason I had asked you to request to Raghu Raman that if he can share the compiled attendance sheet by the end of this month. So all the confusion, such type of confusion will go away.
Yes.
Because I can see here people are attending from Bhubaneswar, Kolkata. Though Kolkata chapter is conducting classes, but still this is the confusion, and amongst all of this, all the students.
Right.
So if you just follow one chapter, like supposedly I only followed Delhi chapter and attend all the classes of Delhi chapter, I think I'll fill that attendance.
I think in the beginning you will do some amount of experimentation, right? After some time you will figure out that this is the place where we have the best or best suited to you, because I would say every one of them is good, but the point is there may be some teachers whom you like, so whom you find are saying the things in a manner which suits your sort of which is according to your preference.
Sir,
right?
This is Sakshi and sir, this is not possible for all of us, that because so many chapters have even not started introduction classes as well. Like for example, Lucknow, even they are not introduced that when they are going to conduct, how they are going to conduct. So if we will wait
Lucknow, to my mind, Lucknow is not even doing it, because
so
we have a certain sort of number. If there are more than 10 participants or 10 students from a particular chapter, then we conduct, we allow that chapter to conduct classes, right? So there are many chapters where we do not have more as many as 10 people.
Right.
So we are not allowed. So the students of that chapter have to opt for, say, Delhi chapter or a Kolkata chapter, or maybe they can opt for anyone, right? Okay.
So there was another thing that we had got the links for all the chapters.
Yeah.
But this week we have not got the links for the other chapters. We have got the link only for the Delhi chapter, because I have been attending the classes for the last 2 weeks.
Right. So who is the person who you can talk to is Raghuraman. Because I won't be able to give any answer on behalf of other chapters. Right? Okay.
Thank you.
As far as we are concerned, we are now beginning. We have actually been the pioneer in the earlier semester also in doing so many things in this, and we'll give you a good sort of, I would say, good learning experience, right? So I don't want to be
I have one question.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
So actually, while I was filling in the form, I saw that there was no mention about the attendance. So I'm a little concerned now, because as of now, everything is in a standstill because of this pandemic. So, I'm a trainer and I travel a lot, because of which sometimes Sundays are also working. In fact, most often. So if that is the case, maybe after 6 months or during the next semester when things get back to normal, it would be really tough for me, or in fact challenging for me to join the classes most often. So then
Right.
how do I manage with the attendance part? Because that's an important criteria. Though I wish to attend the classes, but the profession, if in case it is.
Okay. We'll cross the bridge as we come to the bridge.
Sure,
Okay.
sir. Sure.
So don't bother about it right now.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you,
Right.
sir.
We'll see. Right.
Right.
I actually, I mean, I can only just say it privately that I'm not in favor of attendance. Right. So, but then I don't really take the final decision in every aspect. Right. Okay. So anyway, we'll argue. Right.
Sure.
We'll see that it is in the best interest of all the students. Right. And it also ensures that yes, people are serious, they are attending the classes, and also if they are not attending the classes, at least they are going through the recorded sessions. I have no idea on how to check out if you have gone through a recorded session or not. So and you are all adults, and I argue that we should trust you totally. Right. Okay. So there will be issues. I will sort it out. Don't bother at this point of time.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Can I go ahead now? Okay. So that's the overview of the entire course. And at the start, I have given you this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be now moving on and jumping into what we have is the instructional design process. Okay. Right. So I stopped sharing this, right? And good to see that I have got more than 60 students here right now. That essentially means is there are many people who are not here. I mean, who were not there in the orientation program, but they are here. Right. Good. So, all right. So we have Sudhin Raj also from Ahmedabad. Good. So very long list of I do again welcome every one of you, and you have come from you are logging on from different places, right? That's a great thing. So okay. So moving forward, I would in fact begin with the first say what is called first topic of this instructional design. In the instructional design, we essentially are going to look at how do we really set the objectives of the training program, how do we do what is called a, behavioral objective setting. We'll also do something like a Bloom's taxonomy. We'll also do something on how to create a good program schedule, right? So we'll see what is the type of program we need to do for what type of learning need. Now, to begin with, what we'll really do is we'll begin with what is called the learning need identification, right? So learning need identification is the first step, which is in the ADDIE model. It was A. A means analysis. So we'll do this, what is called the analysis, analysis of the training needs. So, right. We'll start off with this. Yeah. So, right. Yeah, there will be different nomenclature which is going to be used. For example, I would be using this nomenclature which is called learning need identification. We don't look at training need identification, but we focus more on learning need identification. Let me figure out from you, what is the difference between learning and training? Who would like to give me the answer?
The training is upskilling and learning is of permanent nature, like education.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, sir, I think learning is more about self.
Give your name also right at the start, because sometimes people may not be able to figure out who is speaking. So yes. Yeah.
Hi, this is Pradeep. Sir, learning is more about a self-initiated thing, whereas training is more about a task-oriented thing.
Okay. Yeah. Rupesh Rai ji?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sir, I think training is giving information and learning is absorbing that information.
Okay.
Yeah, the same. I mean, training is imparting something to others, and learning is for self.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. How do we define learning? Okay. Go ahead.
Sir, Mahashweta here. So I personally feel learning is something that it has no boundaries. Okay, it can be of any sphere. Training, when we are getting trained, is for a certain module. It is specified for that period of time. It is about one thing.
Okay. 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 Any other?
Yeah, this is Piyush from Lucknow. The
Yeah.
basic difference between learning and training is learning is something which a person, a human do, right? And training, training which a person receive. Right. So
Okay.
this is the basic difference between learning and learning. आप कर सकते हो, training आपको दी जाएगी. ये जैसे ISTD हम learning कर रहे हैं, but इस चीज की training हमको दी जा रही है. So this is the basic difference between learning and training.
Yeah. Manisha?
So learning is basically development of a new knowledge, a skill, basically a change in behavior, I would say.
Okay.
And training is majorly like in, it's basically an instructional experience that we gain or, we give. That is, I feel.
Okay. Okay. You brought out a very good point that the purpose of learning, or the learning is complete, we should be able to see it if there has been a change in the behavior of the person. When we are talking of behavior, we are not talking of the behavior in the sense that interpersonal relationships are so, but we are talking of what that person is capable of doing, right? Say, if I teach you how to ride a cycle, which all of you have perhaps tried at young age, and you are all mastered in that. Training is what the trainer is doing, is helping the person to learn. But the point is, in the training and learning, both the things are happening. Training is from the perspective of the trainer, and learning is from the perspective of the learner. But simultaneously, both the things are really happening. And our focus is much more what is called the student-centered or the participant-centered. And in terms of, if trainer is doing his level best, but the learner is not learning, the training is of no use, right? So our essential impact that we make is, we make an impact that the participant has been able to learn. Now, learning. So if I'm teaching a person how to ride a bicycle, I can figure out whether the person has learned or not if the person is able to handle the bicycle well and ride it. And also, one most critical thing which really happens is when a person is really mastered that or not, is what is called the balance. A balance, if the person has learned how to balance the bicycle, it's a two wheel say vehicle. So in the two wheels, the balancing, if the balancing is so balancing, being able to learn the balance, that's also called the behavior of a person to be able to learn. So there is something which is called permanent change in the behavior, is what describes the learning, right? Okay. And training is essentially for creating that learning. So we focus now more from the point of view of the learner. And so we try to identify what is called the learning need identification. The other things could be learning need analysis, or training need analysis, or training need identification, whatever term you want to use. So that's the way we'll go forward, right? Without training need identification or a learning need identification, the large part of the money spent on training may be just a waste. And the point will be, are you able to afford this waste or not? It is not something which one can really afford. We have the budget. We need to sort of, really utilize and justify how we have really spent that effort and money. Have we got the return or not? Right. Yeah. Some people have raised hands. Please go ahead. Yeah. Your points. Manisha has already made the point, so I think she can lower the hand. Sachin, if you have want to say something else.
Yeah, sir, just going with the understanding, the contextual meaning. The trainer is from the context of the person who is giving it, and learner is from the receiver's perspective. So can we say that training is a subset of the entire learning process?
Yeah, see, because the learning can happen without the trainer also. Do you see this? Learning can happen
Okay.
without the, because the person responsible for learning, he might be doing it through self-study, right? Or like Ekalavya. Ekalavya learned a lot about how to use a bow and arrow, and he was a master. He became a master. Was a trainer really active in that? But the
Yeah.
learner
No.
was very
Yeah.
active, right? Okay. So that's it. Okay, Chandrakant.
Thank you.
Yeah. 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 Your point, Chandrakant, or your question. Unmute
Yes,
yourself.
sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, basically the training is about process of learning and unlearning. And we can learn from the nature as well, or there is no boundary as such for the learning. We can learn from the anything. Any person can learn from any time, sir.
Yes.
With no structured as such there.
That's right. That's right. We know about, Shiv and Parvati's second son. Do you remember who was the second son? You know, all of you know about the first son, or the son who is more popular is the Ganesha,
Yes.
right?
Karthik.
Okay.
Karthik.
Right. Karthike had, as the story goes, 24 gurus, and he was able to pick up from everywhere, right? So that's the type of attitude that we need to have. And in fact, as trainers, we need to develop that attitude amongst our participants and amongst our organizations, that how can the people be lifelong learners, right? Because the problem that we have today is we don't know what sort of skills we'll be needing in 2025, because the 2025 type of things are not even on the horizon perhaps today. So how do we really give people not learning at one point of time, but the art of learning, that how can they really learn and handle their own learning and be the master of their own learning. Yeah, Mamita? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, your point or question. Mamita Sarkar?
Yes, my point is the learning is multi-directional. It may be of personal interest, may be of professional interest, but training has always been a professional context in organization way. If I talk about, you have certain skills identified, certain gaps identified, and you make your people train to overcome those or to attain those skills. So that's my point of definition.
Okay. Nowadays, of course, the private training is also available. So many people spend so much money on learning, maybe yoga, learning maybe some other things also. And people do that. But yes, from a corporate perspective, yes, what type of view that you have, it makes a little more sense. Right. Thank you. Right. So we have this learning need identification, and now training need identification or learning need identification is a critical and complex task. It is not easy. Now, the scope of what I am going to be talking is that it will be primarily extending to all members of the organization, that is within a company, who needs training, who needs learning, etc. All that. Though in reality, many organizations are going beyond their organization. For example, Hindustan Unilever is not only giving training to their own employees, managers, etc. They are also giving training to the salespeople who are actually employees of their distributors. So distributor network, in that network also they are trying to give the training. Maruti Udyog is also giving training to the showroom salespeople, right, and the showroom managers, etc. also, right, so that they can perform their task better. They are also giving training to selected set of people who are on the supplier side. That means the vendors. They are trying to see how to training about how to improve the quality to the vendors, so that the components which come from the vendors are of high quality, right? So that's also what is being done nowadays. But at this point of time, for this session, I will keep this limited to the members of the organization, which means employees of the organization. Yeah, right. Okay, so here I would, here there will be what's called an individual training needs, right? And then there will be group training needs, and then there will be what's called the organizational training needs, right? So let's begin with individual training needs. Now, individual training needs are that each person has a certain training need. We focus on the micro level, that is on each individual. For each individual, what is the source from where we get his learning needs? The learning needs that we get is from individual's own assessment. Individual's own assessment will mean that he or she knows where he or she is weak and where he requires more training. Because the employee knows which part of the task that is assigned to him he can do well, which part he finds it difficult, where he needs support from some colleagues sometimes, or somewhere he is not able to do all that well. So employee's view about his own learning needs is very important. The second source from where we get is the opinion of the superiors. Superior means boss, immediate boss. Also, one skipped level manager means the reviewing officer or somebody like that. That is boss's boss, right? These people see the output or the performance of that person on a day-to-day basis, and then they find that some aspects the person is able to do well, and some aspects the person is not able to do well. So their view about where he or she needs training or he needs better learning is what we try to get from there. So their views are very important. Their views are also recorded in what is called the performance assessment, right? In the performance assessment, which is an annual or maybe a biannual process in most of the organization, there will be a recording of this, that what this person is able to do well, and there is a column or there is a part where we do identify what are the learning needs of the person so that he or she can do much better than what they have been doing so far. Now, the C part, which is analysis of the role. See, let's look at the person and let's look at the role. Person, yeah, how can I really use this? Yeah, person has got a certain level of skills. you can make a list of skills or list of strengths or competencies that the person is having. When you have identified the role, how do you identify the role? You identify the role by what is called the job description, JD. The JD hota hai, job description. In that, you have got all the tasks that a person is able to or required to do. From the JD, we also have what is called the job specification, which essentially means is for doing those tasks, what is the type of skill level that a person should have? What is the type of competencies that the person should be having? Right? Okay. Let me explain this, and Sakshi, I'll check out with you your point. If you compare these two, then you will find some of the skills which are required in that role, the employee is having. So far so good, no problem. In the job, there are certain skills which this person does not have, but they are required for effective performance. Now, identifying these skills or these competencies which are required, but in the person it does not have, then those are the ones where training should be given, right? Now, there can be a third part also. The third part is there are many skills which a person is having, but those skills are not being utilized in the current role. Well, there are certain things which are utilizable, there are certain things which are not utilizable. For example, a person is working in Delhi, and you say, well, the person has got a diploma in German language. Now, the skill of German language in his current role is not required. Right? Okay, no problem. We don't, then there can be something like singing. The person sings very well. But if the job is of sales, that is not a skill which will be utilized in the job. That is for his personal life. However, if the job is of singer, then obviously that skill will be utilized very well. So it depends on what else. So what we say is job and person analysis. So analyzing these two, we can really figure out what is the skill which are required in the role, but this particular person does not have those skills. Right? Yeah. Any questions? Yeah, at this time. And I would request that some of you have kept this mic unmuted, and there is some noise which is coming from those places. They can please mute yourself, and it is your choice. Whenever you want to raise the question, you can always unmute and do that. Okay. Right. So these are the sources from where we get this identification of the individual learning needs. The E is referring to what we have, development center. I hope many of you are aware of what is development center. Development center is essentially what we also call assessment center. And many of you who have gone through, may have gone through, of course, some of you who are in army have successfully gone through what is called the SSB, Service Selection Board. Service Selection Board, when they are asking for the people, they are recruiting people for their officer cadre, also for the lower cadres, that's soldiers also. They put them through a whole set of exercises. It is from the army only that this concept of assessment is spread over several days, which have come to the corporate sector. Initially, it came as what is called the assessment center, and now it is called the development center. So typically, in a development center, we will have a small group of 8 to 12 people who will be assessed. There will also be about 4 assessors who will be assessing these people. And these assessors who will be assessing them on several exercises which will be given. Some exercises are group exercises, some are individual case analysis, and some are individual case presentations and things like that. So over that, when they see them performing in a certain way, they assess their competencies. Competency level is high or competency level is low. Now, from that, we come to know what are the competencies where that individual is weak, and that individual needs to improve on that. Now, this is very good. If they are conducted well, then development center is a very important tool to conduct or to identify the learning needs. I'll give you a very small example. A small means actual example of what really happened. In one of the, development center that we were conducting, I was one of the assessors, and what happened was I had a person who was a president in that company. President means really very high level, and for one of the businesses, he was in charge, and he was 62-year-old person, and his track record had been excellent. On one aspect, we rated him average, and the aspect on which we rated him average was team working. Now, when we gave him the report, and then we were discussing the report, he happened to be with me, and he asked me, Kaushal, I don't understand why you are giving me this average rating on team working. I have had hundreds and thousands of people working with me, and I have been working in so many teams, and you have given me average. If I was, and I have performed brilliantly over the, my 40 years of work experience. So the point was, it is really difficult to really now counter this. But the point is, I was one of those persons who was observing a particular aspect. And then what happened was there was a group exercise in which he was member of the group, where each one was to do some task. And then another person was to do some task. And here what was happening, when the chance was for this person to do his task, he did it well, and now this was second person in this group he was doing. Now the second person was struggling. This person didn't offer to support him because it was a group task. He could have supported it. So I pointed to him, taking his name. I said, do you remember that exercise? He said, yes. You did that very well, your task. He said, yes, I was quite comfortable doing this. Then I asked another person in your group, so-and-so was struggling. He said, he was struggling. I said, what did he do? He said, nothing. I said, okay, let him struggle. I said, is that the way we work in team? Is that the way you are going to work in a football team? You're going to wait for the other person to say, send your football to this side. No. Nobody in the football team works like this. In football team, we anticipate what is the need of my team member, and I do it without his asking. And at the age of 62, he realized this whole of his life, he has focused on his own performance, and he has not supported others unless support was asked. He has not willingly, on his own initiative, given or collaborated like a football team. And in a football team, it is very much required. You do that. He has waited for the other person to ask. And he realized, yes, I understand. My whole concept of team working has been different, and I need to change it. So do you understand that we are able to give a very strong feedback, very precise feedback, if we are able to do this task very well in the development center? Then we have what's called the psychometric test to judge people's skills. We can do that, and from there we come to what's called the individual learning needs. There's another one which is 360-degree feedback, where the feedback is taken from the colleagues, juniors, as well as maybe in the case where there are customers and the suppliers also. So from there we get a very good feedback on what are the individual learning needs. Particularly, this is more important in the case of people who are at senior level, because there is nobody above them who would give them the feedback. So you try to gather the feedback from others, and then you try to say, okay, this person precisely does so many things very well, but this particular thing he doesn't do well, right? Okay, so this is how we do the individual training needs, and now I go on to what we do is about the group training needs. In the group training needs, what we have is typically a group. Group means a department. It can be a function. It can be a division. And if the people in that group, all of them require a certain type of, learning, we need to sort of, understand that and try to figure out, but how do we figure out? The starting point for figuring out that is, we start asking the group leader as to what is his plan, what is his... yeah, okay, yeah. So I'll give you an example. For example, I go to a finance department head and I ask them, so I have gathered the individual learning need of all your people, but tell me, what do you think are going to be the challenges which are going to come to you, and what is the type of trainings on which we need to focus? Now, the finance head tells me that in 6 months' time, we are going to implement an ERP system. ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning Software in the finance department. Means ERP system is there in the organization, but it has not come to the finance department as yet. But now we want to integrate finance function also into the ERP system. So we are going to do this 6 months later. I said, okay, if that is your plan, then what is it that is required? That is, what type of training is required? Then he is able to give an idea about what sort of training, to whom this training will be given, etc. Right? So I get an idea from there. There's also senior managers' assessment and expectation from that group. These are senior managers who are not in the part of the group, but they are other than the group. But they are the ones who are either utilizing or interacting with that group, and they can really assess and give you what sort of learning needs are there. Here I'll give you an example. For example, in every organization, which is a manufacturing organization, we have what's called a purchase department. Purchase and stores also is part of that. Now, who is the person, who is the department who is utilizing? It is the manufacturing which is utilizing the work of the purchase department. They are the ones who have given the intent. Now, manufacturing head can give a good idea about what his expectations are from the purchase department and where they do well and where they don't do that well. Right? And they can tell that purchase department people need this sort of training, that sort of training, etc., all that. Right? So I get a very good idea from there. So I need to get this from senior managers from the other than that group. So, which is also very similar to customers' viewpoint, and here it is internal customers' viewpoint. So we have what is called, would somebody like to ask a question or something? Right, okay. We also have what is called the customer satisfaction survey in most of the organizations. When you analyze the customer satisfaction survey, you realize that on certain points where the things are not going all that well according to what customers really need or want, there the big issue which really happens is that there is some capability which is missing in our team. That is why they are not able to do all that well, right? So we need to understand that customer's viewpoint, and from there we need to call out the group learning needs of that group, right?
Here, sir, sorry, sir, interrupting you. Here, I
Yeah.
want to raise a point. This is Piyush from Lucknow. That
Yeah.
I will take a reference from one of the survey. Like there was a survey called in the restaurant. Like
Yeah.
out of 100% people, there are only 5% people who, or 5% customer who make complaint on the manager's table, right?
Yeah.
So a customer's feedback, customer survey depends on the nature of the business. Right.
Yeah,
So
it
how
is.
much percentage, how much weightage we can give on the customer's feedback? Because usually how customer gives the feedback, even how we give the feedback, we just tick on the right, okay, and we just submit. We don't want to spend so much time on feedback to anything. So how
Yeah,
much weightage, how much percentage we can give to this customer feedback or the customer survey?
Look at one thing. When you are going to a restaurant and you are moving out after having the food, at that point of time, in your mind, either consciously or unconsciously, you have decided whether you will come here again or you will not come.
Right.
Right. Okay. Now it is for you as a restaurant owner, it's important for you to collect that information and check out what was not so good so that the person can be brought back to them. Remember one thing, Acha, I'll tell you, in many places in China, even a government servant, if he is dealing with the public, he has a pointer there or a instrument there. After you complete your interaction, you are supposed to give the feedback whether the interaction was good, excellent, or poor. So much so that even a what is called a toilet, you visit the toilet, at the end of it, when you come out, you have that button. You can push the button whether it was an excellent or it was just okay or it was poor, right? This is how we have to make the things responsive. And in fact, if this is not giving us good information, then we need to organize customer satisfaction survey and go out and interview them and find out from them whether they are ready to do what is called a repurchase, because the business doesn't run on the new customers.
Right.
Business usually runs on what is called the repeat loyal customers.
Right.
Because if the customers are not going to come back to you, well, that's it. You lost the business. You lost the game. You have to make sure every time when the customers come, that is a moment of truth. That's a term which has been used, and I think some other time I'll have I'll explain it in more detail. So that moment of truth. If say for example, we used to go to a very good restaurant and we used to love its food as a family. Once when we went there, we found there was a cockroach which was roaming around on the table. My children were young. They said, "Oh, no, not here." The cockroach was removed. We ate our food. At least the cockroach was not in the food, right? But what happened? For next several months, for nearly a year, every time we'll say we'll go to that restaurant, my children will say, "No, we'll not go to that restaurant." Now you can understand this. That is what it is.
Okay.
आपका कस्टमर कितना भी पुराना हो, अगर आपने लास्ट टाइम उसको अच्छी सर्विस नहीं दी, वो खत्म हो गया, right? Now this is where we have to understand कि हम लोग कैसे बिहेव करें कस्टमर से, कैसे उसको अच्छी सर्विस दें कि they are going to be coming back. That's important. Yeah, Sachin, your point. Yes.
Sir, just adding to what you are saying, I just remember of one quote which I learned in the training program. that people remember all your good work only till your last mistake. So that is very much relevant to what you are saying right now.
Yes. And you know that best of the businesses have gone down in, I would say, Ziffy. For example, in 2006, Nokia was the largest manufacturer of the mobiles. And in 2008, it was doing so badly that it was sold off. And at the time when it was sold off, in the press conference where this was being announced, the CEO, after announcing all this, couldn't stop but started crying. And man who was 50 years plus with lots of experience, all that, he said, we don't know where we went wrong. We did everything what was right, but somehow we just failed. Right?
So there is a quote saying your 70% business comes from your 50% of repeated customer.
Yeah. So there are those things. Yeah. Rupesh has a point. Pankaj
Yeah,
also
sir.
has a point. Yeah, please go ahead.
Adding to this, sir, that's why we call it customer as a customer is not a god. Customer is a king, because God can pardon you, but king cannot. I mean, he won't pardon you. So
Okay. Good. Yeah.
business.
Pankaj. Pankaj, you have raised your hand. Please go ahead. Right. Perhaps he is not able to.
Yeah, just to add, hi, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So just to add, like what the discussion is going on, I think, can you just repeat your name once again? The person from Lucknow?
Piyush.
This is Piyush.
Yeah, Piyush. Yeah, I feel, Piyush, you asked like what should be the weightage we should give to the feedback. Like if we have
Right. Because why
5%, yeah.
why I was asking that question, because customers का feedback हर nature of business में अलग अलग होता है. If you will ask in the retail industry, apparel industry में customer का feedback will be different. वो सिर्फ आपको billing time में ज़्यादा पे आपको कम number देगा. If you will talk about food industry, उसमें जैसे सर ने जो example दिया कि 9 out of 100%, 5% customer will go back to the manager, so बोलेंगे कि ये चीज़ खराब थी. 95% of customer will move out from your restaurant, will never go back. Even वो word of mouth में दूसरों को भी बताएंगे कि वो चीज़ खराब थी.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's what I was asking कि अगर हम ट्रेनिंग नीड एनालिसिस कर रहे हैं या हम आइडेंटिफाई कर रहे हैं किसी चीज को या हम कोई इम्प्लीमेंटेशन कर रहे हैं क्या कोई ट्रेनिंग नीड बना रहे हैं, so हम कस्टमर के फीडबैक को कितना वेटेज दे सकते हैं, बिकॉज कस्टमर किस तरीके से फीडबैक देता है वो हमें भी पता है. मतलब बीइंग अ कस्टमर आप भी कैसे फीडबैक देते हो आपको पता है, बहुत कैजुअली कि सर सबमिट करना है, दे के खत्म करते हैं.
Okay.
And this is happening in the even the last हमारी जो ISTD क्लासेस के बाद एक पोल होता है उसमें भी हम सेम चीज कर रहे हैं. We are just spending 10 second or 15 second to submit that poll because वो हमारे अटेंडेंस के लिए जरूरी है. We need to analyze.
No, that is not the case. When we submit the poll, we make sure that we give our honest feedback so that
Maybe,
we,
madam, exception are always there. I am not talking
I
about.
think most of us do that because we are all professionals and we put in our all effort.
Don't take it personally. This is just a
No, not personal. No, not personal, because this is the perception that you're giving out for everyone in the class. I don't think that is the case. When we give feedback, we ensure that we give the honest feedback and give time to it, so we get a better services from ISTT.
Yeah. So see, Piyush, I just want to add here, if you allow, I just want to add something here.
Please.
See, like now the discussion has moved on to some other direction. See, if we are talking about the poll, what we are giving, the feedback after this session, we all have paid, we all are mature people, set of adult people, and we have paid a huge amount, of our hard-earned money into it. So the chances are more that we will give the right feedback on the poll. Point number one. Point number two, if as a restaurant manager, if I look at the feedback, after having look of the feedback, few feedbacks or 10 or 20 feedbacks, I can easily get to know like what was the sense behind filling this feedback. Because usually what happen, many people in many organizations, they don't get the feedback filled from the angry customer. They usually get feedback filled from the positive customers only. Just to show like how effective we are. Instead of that, a person should always focus on the complaining customer, But people, they're afraid if I fill, if I get the feedback by form filled by the complaining customer, this might, raise a question on my performance,
No,
right?
that is it. That is integrity issue, Pankaj. Like,
Yes.
that is not that on. That is
So
not honesty.
I'm
I would
coming
like
on that point
to,
only. What you asked, I'm coming on that point only.
yeah.
So, your question was how much weightage we should give to the feedback. So this was the question.
There is a
Yeah,
disturbance. Someone can
yeah.
move.
I think someone has unmuted. Please, it's a
I would
request
like
to
to
mute yourself.
stop right now, right? I would request you to stop. I will
Someone is
come in here.
not.
See, this feedback is to be taken differently by different people.
Absolutely,
If
sir.
I'm the restaurant owner, I would like to have the feedback from every person, even from the angry person.
Yes.
But if I am an employee, manager of the restaurant, then I would like to save my job and I will only like to have positive feedback, right? Therefore, that is where we have to really figure out कि और जो restaurant owner है उसको भी काम करना है. Now I would like to give you an old story, which is the real story, and then from where many things come. And in many of the books on customer service, etc., you will find this. It was way back in 1982 or so that, and many of you were perhaps born around that time only, at SAS airline, which was a Sweden and Norway's airline, had not been doing all that well, and John Colson was given the responsibility as a CEO to turn it around. He went ahead and interviewed and talked to a large number of people, and then he figured out one thing, that while the airline is quite good in many aspects, its fleet is good, its performance on-time performance is good, its many of the technical things are very good. One other thing which he figured out was that somehow or the other, the warmth that should be there when interacting with the passengers was missing. And therefore, what he did was he created training programs and ensured that the whole of the organization goes through that training, what was called focusing on customer. And when he had got this feedback, he had got feedback from the traveling public, and they said, it is fine, its goal line is fine, but they are very dry type of people. They are not very friendly. Now, after this training, in a few months, traveling passengers found that the crew members, that the people who are giving the tickets, people who are interacting, who are supporting you, they all are having an eye contact with you. They are all having a smile on this. They inquire, they give that warm feeling, etc. All that. And what really happened? People said, yes, this airline is good. The people are good over here. I would like to come back and travel by the same airline next time also. Result was, in about a year or two, that airline, from being a loss-making airline, became a profit-making airline. And this particular thing has been recorded in a book which is called The Moments of Truth. The Moments of Truth, written by John Carlson, talks about that issue, right? Okay. So what I'll do is I would just complete these two again, and then I would also like to very quickly give you an idea about this. Okay. What I'll
Excuse
do?
me, sir. May I interrupt?
Yeah.
So can you please repeat the name of this book?
I would tell you about the name of this book and also that, but I'll tell you in a different manner, right?
Okay, thank you.
How I will tell you is that I would also like to tell you, and I would like to give you an idea of how I'm going to communicate with you, right? And how I'm going to communicate with you is by using what's called a, Google Classroom, right? So I'm going to give you this idea by sharing the Google Classroom, and this information will be now communicated to you how to be a part of that Google Classroom through our say WhatsApp group to begin with, right? And like that. So, okay. Yeah. Right. So I'm sharing now another one. Okay. Yeah, I stop sharing this. I start sharing another aspect, and that is, yeah. You are able to say this ISTD diploma. This is a Google Classroom.
Yes, sir. This is a Google Classroom page.
Many of you would be able to see this. Are you able to see the passcode here or class code? Right?
ये Google Classroom कैसे एक बार start करेंगे बता
This is the class code. Is it coming full?
Google Classroom में जाएगा.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
So we can see the passcode.
Yeah. Note down this, join this, and all that information that we want to share with you will be there. The cloud-based, system, it remains there for all time to come. You can access it from your mobile, you can access it from your laptop, and you don't lose it. Right? Okay. Right. So I think by now we are already at 13:29, 1:29, and I'm supposed to continue only up to 1:30. So I would stop here, and we would have the next class on paper 1 by Shri G.K. Agarwal, Professor G.K. Agarwal at 2 o'clock. And I'm stopping here because I want you to have your lunch also. Most of you will be hungry by now, so you should be having enough time to have lunch. Okay? Bye. I'll be back here at 2 o'clock to introduce Professor G.K. Agarwal. Okay? Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir. Thank you very much.
Bye, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Have a great